Hello everyone, welcome to another tutorial. In today's tutorial, I'm gonna show you how to set up an interior lighting using physical renderer or standard renderer without eGPU renderer, of course. And we have this simple scene here, this living room. We're gonna transform it from this to this, and with only some simple lightnings, and of course by tweaking the render settings. So let's get started. Well guys, I want to tell you a good news. My new premium course is available on Udemy for $30.99 only every time you want, and it contains a lot of stuffs, about 9 hours of learning, and that is about modeling using splines from start to be a professional. So you can just apply the coupon in the description and you will have this course for $30.99, and this will be regenerated every month, and you will find it in the description of every video I have. So enjoy. Of course, let's go closer, and we can have a lot of furnitures here. We can hide them for now because we don't need to see them actually for performance, but you can enable them if you want. So first we're gonna create a light source or a lighting for our scene here, and to do that we're gonna use, I already created some lights for this lamps here, and you can enable them. I already created a espresso tag to enable control them. You can just select the furnitures and you can go to any user data, and you can click switch lights on and off, and with this you can switch them on and off. Perfect, as you can see. But I'm not going to use in this tutorial, I'm not going to use the lights source, these things here, but we are going to use physical sky to light our scene. So create a physical sky. As we know, many of people are, when they done the setup of their scenes, they okay, I am done with my scene, so let's create a physical sky. And okay, physical sky, and yeah, render, and they get something like this, and they say, wow, that was absolutely not what I was looking for. Of course you didn't pay attention to these options here, and if you didn't pay attention to these options, you won't get a perfect lighting. So in this case here, I'm going to use physical sky, and we can change the time and the location, because as we know, every city or every country has its unique lighting. Not a city in a country in Africa is different, completely different from a lightning city in a country in Europe. Completely different. So we're gonna choose randomly, because for example, let's go to Europe, and for example Greece, and choose Patras, for example. All right, as you can see, it's different. And go to Rwanda, Kigali, and it's different. Even in the same time here, it's the 12 o'clock AM, and they are completely different. So let's go back to Greece, yeah, Patras, and we can choose 10 o'clock in the time, and change the month. January is still morning and the sun don't rise so early, yeah. But we're gonna choose April. As you can see, it's perfect. And of course we can go to the sky here, and for the saturation correction we're gonna increase it to 120%. This is I'm showing you something I use every time in my renders using physical renderer, not something that people use, because a lot of people will have different options and different choices. So we go move to sun, and for the sun we're gonna increase the saturation correction to 180, 120, sorry, 120, I meant 120, not 80. And the size ratio will be 110, and the as-seen intensity 110. It's okay with that. And for the shadow I'm using area shadow because it's perfect. And to see the shadow in this room here, we can go to options and enable. Have a lot of things, a bunch of choices here, a bunch of options, and everything is useful, and every one of them is useful for you. But in our case here we're going to use shadows. Let's enable shadows, and we can see that we already can see the shadows without hit the render preview. And we can go to rotation, or we can go to the coordinates, and we can rotate this on the edge, for example, to see the shadows. As you can see, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect, and we can choose any position we want, any rotation we want for our sun to go through the window and hit the floor, and then an explosion will happen. I'm just kidding. Okay, we can move forward. As you can see, it's absolutely nice, a useful idea, not area, a useful idea for you. If you enable shadows, you can see the shadows here, and this is absolutely what we need. So we have sun here, we have shadows, and ray traced hard shadows, then it's not a good idea at all, because area shadow is a more realistic and useful. So details, I think are not going to need them actually, because we are working on an interior light and not an exterior. You can use them when you have an exterior lighting, for example, to show the moon and stars and show planets and a lot of other stuffs in the sky. But we can focus on generate global illumination and the strength. If you have a dark light in here, you can increase the strength of the of this value here, make it 150, for example, or 200. But in my case here, the lighting is perfect for me, and I'm gonna stick with the default value. Perfect. Now we've finished with the physical sky. Now if we render this right now using the standard renderer, we're gonna get this result. But if we go to the render settings and we create have a lot of presets here, let's create a new one here. Let's call it, for example, light Tito, yeah, Tito. And we can choose the renderer, the physical renderer here, and we have the physical options here. Inside the basic settings, we're gonna change some or tweak some settings here. For example, the sampling quality, we're gonna change it to medium, for example. High will take a lot of time, and this is not good for us. For the sampling subdivision is enough, 4 is enough, and the minimum, or the medium, not the minimum actually, the minimum is 2. Shading subdivision minimum is 2. And for the shading error threshold, we're gonna change it to 5% is okay with me, but if you have a powerful machine, you can make it 0.1. This is the minimum value that you will get. But as you can see, if we make it preview, we're gonna have a shading error threshold 25%, but we're gonna make it 5%. Is cool and good and enough for me. For the basic settings of the physical render, I think this is enough. We're gonna go to effects. Let's check this one to use the current preset. So let's go to effects and let's create a global illumination. Inside this global illumination, we're gonna need to tweak some settings and change some things and a lot of stuff. So for the preset here, we have a lot of interior presets, but none of them is perfect, of course, because the high diffuse depth and that is not good. Will take a lot of time to be rendered. So we're gonna make ours. So for the primary method, we have irradiance catch, and if we render this one right now, we're gonna see that the primary method is working here. Irradiance cache prepass. Perfect. But we don't want irradiance cache. We want Cosine Monte Carlo. We don't want that to be covered and start counting. And for its own settings, intensity and saturation, let's keep them as they are. And for the secondary method, by default is none, but we are going to use light mapping. Light mapping is working simply. It's lighting or mapping every point that light touch. So this is the render. As you can see, it's completely different from the irradiance cache and the light mapping prepass, the secondary method, and it's light map every point that the light touch, and this is perfect for the interior lighting, of course. So the maximum depth will be 16. It's okay with that. And now we move to the simple, the most important thing. As you can see in this image here, in this render, a lot of noise around the dark areas and where the ambient occlusion exists, a lot of noise. So to fix that or to remove that noise, we're gonna increase the simples, but not that much, because increasing them will make the render take forever. So as default, by default, I think it's by default, yeah, medium, the accuracy is 75%, and the simple count is disabled because it's going to choose it automatically depending on the light and a lot of stuff. But we're gonna make it custom simple count and change it or decrease it to 32. It's perfect, because make it 64 will take forever to be rendered, of course. And as we know, the physical render is too slow because it's using the CPU, and that's why it's too slow. Well, we go to the light mapping options here. As you can see, we have the path count multiplied by 1000, and this one here will give us 5 million path count, which will make you render, I think, maybe 5 hours. What do you think about that? So we're gonna decrease it, not a bit, but a lot of minus will happen right now in here, and we're gonna make it 1000, for example, and this will give us 1 million path count. For example, if this value is true, this value is multiplied by 1000. So in this one here is perfect, will give you a really nice result. And I already did a render using the 5000 path count. It took about two hours, or 1 hour and 45 minutes, which is very long time. So I did another render using the 1000 here, and it gave me the same result. Yeah, the same result. Nothing is different about that. So for the we can change this one to build radius city map, and of course you can change it in the secondary method to use the radius city map instead of light mapping. And I already did a render using that, but not using the physical sky. I used an HDRI image, and this was the result. As you can see, a lot of noise happening right there, and this is not perfect. So for the for something else, we're gonna explain right now. If you have a lot of lightning coming from the light source, or the physical sky, or the sun, is because if you want to increase the strength of the light and the strength of the intensity of the sun here, increase the intensity, not the strength actually. If you want to increase them and you want to have the same result, or a perfect result, for your colors to be kept perfectly, you need to add another effect, and this one will be color mapping. This one will keep even if we have a lot of light coming from the windows or any light source. Of course, you can change the dark multiplier and the bright multiplier. If you have a lot of light coming from the window, you can just increase the dark multiplier to 2.5, for example. It will be perfect. And if we have, or if you have less lighting coming from the window, you will make this one 1 and increase this one to the 2.5. That will give you a bright render. Alright, but in our case here we have a lot of light coming from the window, so we're gonna use dark multiplier 2.5 in this value. So with this one we can say that we have make a perfect, I'm talking about my the preset I use in every project for me, for interior lighting of course, and I say that this one is perfect for me. And as you can see, I'm going to show you after that a lot of renders I have done using these options, or these settings. So I think this is everything. We are not going to test the render because it will take a lot of time, so I'm going to show you my renders, and every one equipped with its own settings, or the settings I used to achieve that render. And of course you can subscribe my channel and hit that like button. That will motivate me to create or make new tutorials. And of course I would like to see what you are working on guys, and to do that you can just follow me on Instagram and tag me whenever you have something new, and I will give you my opinion. Of course I would love to do that. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.